Welcome back to Laguna Seca for round 11 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship on BSR TV with me, Chris Cohen, and I am joined in the commentary box by Dan Blake. Dan, that was a fantastic race 1 and we're looking to improve on that in race 2.
Yeah, it should be quite interesting to see how they can improve it, really, because I think that first race was some very, very good racing. As you said before, there wasn't much contact, at least not that we saw anyway, but yeah, it was a very good race. And I think the second race, really, the drivers will know the track, some of them will know the track a bit more than they did before, and I think we could see even more competitive racing in the second race, but that first race was good, and be interesting to see if anyone will be able to stop Richard Wild. As soon as he got out in that first race, he didn't want to be caught, and he pulled out a bit of a gap here, and there'll be people like Ignacio Pinella and Simon Field from further back who'll be trying to make their way through the field as well. So it really has got a British touring car feel to this race, with drivers from further up in the field starting them at the back. So this will be a very interesting race, and also I will remember it's 10 laps this time and not 9.
And let's just remind ourselves of these championship positions as the drivers make their way onto the grid for this 10 lap race. Definitely 10 laps. Adam Terry is currently in the lead of the championship, who came home in second, which won't hurt his chances at all. Ellis Stevens takes second place in the championship coming into race. This was before the last race, by the way. These haven't been updated since the round 10. So Ellis Stevens second, Katz third, who isn't here this week, Pinella in fourth, Field in fifth, and Field will really have been hurt by coming home outside the points in that last race, Dan.
Yeah, also Pinella was outside the points, and Steve Richardson was also 16th position, even outside the points as well. So some of our top 10 in the championship really did not have the best of races, but here we go then. It's going to be about time for the next race to get underway, and I can't wait for this one.
I've got to say, I'm going to join you in that assessment, because Richard Wild is on pole position in that white and blue machine. Adam Terry in the orange Dyno Jet. Ellis Stevens third on the grid as the lights go on. Round 11, Laguna Seca in the British Touring Car Championships green. And here we go. Good start from all the drivers so far.
Adam Terry's got another good start. I noticed there was a car starting in the pit lane as well. It may have seen a bit of sense into that, but Ellis Stevens it is who's maybe should try and make a move down the inside and take second place. And Terry just try and fight it, but Stevens has it. And further back, let's see what happens in the
oh, we got a spinner, and two Dyno Jets have collided. That is, I don't know who that is, but two of the Dyno Jets have collided after one of them spun out. Sorry, Dan, to interrupt you there.
That's okay, no worries. You're just bringing us up to date with the action. But yeah, two Dynojet cars in the walls early on, especially with your teammate. Not really what you want to do, but the top four are the same as in the last race, but in a different order. We've got Richard Wild in the lead. In second place is Ellis Stevens. We've got Adam Terry in third place. Grenell in fourth, and Grenell getting very, very loose there coming out of the corner. Behind there, I see some smoke as well. So further down the field, seems there's been a similar problem.
Yeah, and the lead at the moment, Richard Wild is in the lead, coming into the corkscrew for the first time with Stevens right on his tail, and Adam Terry in third there. Grenell's holding his own at the moment. That's Daniel Hunt behind him, is it, as well?
Yeah, it's Daniel Hunt. We'll have a look now, but one of the early race casualties is the car of Neil Hine. Neil Hine out on the first lap, and it is indeed Daniel Hunt who's up there behind David Grenell in the top 5. So, but it'll be interesting to see if, like the first race, this top 4 can pull out. You got Sean Lay, I think, as well. Yeah, Sean Lay also is thereabouts as well. But Richard Wild is in the lead to complete the first lap, and he's already pulled out a second gap near enough. So Richard Wild is going to try and get away, but Ellis Stevens won't make it easy for him.
And coming down through that first corner for the second time, a lot less crowded this time round, but still action-packed. And one of the Pertec boys is doing very well. That is Stephen Hefford, who is up in 8th position at the moment. We saw him struggling in the last race towards the end, but a solid performance otherwise from Stephen Hefford. He's just got John Richardson up in front of him in that blue Airwaves car, and Sean Lay is already up to 6th position, making up 1 position from his finish in the last race. Wild then from Stevens at the front. It's already starting to pull out a gap. Terry is on the back of Stevens now.
Also, about a host of cars just leaving the pits, and Marcus Naris has spun on the pit exit, and he's had contact with his teammate Lua Bond and all that. is not what they wanted to have. Laura Bond and Naris both been in the pits, and Naris lost it coming out, and Laura Bond has hit him. But there's other cars as well who are in the pit lane as well. So the first lap did claim quite a few cars in the pits, but as you said, Richard Wilde is in the lead.
So
Richard Wilde's not in the lead.
What's happened to Richard Wilde? He's dropping down the field there.
Richard Wilde's he's down in 4th position. And the leader is now Ellis Stevens. So Ellis Stevens leads. Got Adam Terry right on his boot as they go down turn 1. It'd be interesting to see there what happens to Richard Wilde. We're looking at what's going on between the KX Momentum teammates. I mean, missed that one, but 3rd position is Grunwald, 4th is Richard Wilde, and now Wilde's going to have it all to do. We saw what he could do from the front. This time he's going to have to come from 4th place if he's going to take that victory. And he's got quite a bit of time to do it. But out front, we can still have the battle here, and Adam Terry right on the boot lid of Ellis Stevens. There's not much between them at all as they go down through turn number 4, and that was Stevens getting a bit of a wheel on the dirt. Terry goes to the outside line, and they go side by side, get in the corner. Terry pushed maybe a little bit wide there, and this is going to allow David Grunwald to come back into play. Richard Wilde goes a bit wide going out into turn 5, but as they go down into turn 6, it's still Stevens from Terry, but Grunwald is in close attention as well, and these three are starting to pull out a bit to the rest of the field.
And yeah, that's a very exciting battle. What we saw there was a slowdown from Richard Wilde, which is it took a little bit too much of the inside of the corkscrew on the previous lap, so that's put him down in where is he at the moment? He's down in 4th position, so he hasn't lost too much ground, but this is an exciting battle there. We saw Terry being nudged out by Stevens there. Is that fair manoeuvre, or do you think he took a little bit too much of Terry's door off?
I think it was just about on the edge of fair, but behind them there's a car going off. It's an Airwaves car going across the gravel, but also the battle for 4th place. We saw Daniel Hunt trying to go down the outside of Richard Wilde, and it's all happening at the moment. But as they come down to the first corner, we're on lap number 4. Stevens and Terry, there's nothing much going on there. They're not quite in a position where they can challenge, but Grunwald's got around the outside Richard Wilde. Richard Wilde will be quite annoyed at himself with the slowdown penalty. We saw Simon Field suffer from the same position, that corkscrew causing a few problems, but Richard Wilde is definitely making it clear to Grunwald he wants to come past, and very quickly at that.
Indeed, and we almost saw Richard Wilde going round on the outside of turn 1 there. He's that determined to get back into it. Just 0.3 off the back of Dave Grunhill now, who is in 3rd place. Look at him go, that's right, just almost bumper to bumper there, just coming out of the corner. Wilde sacrificed a little bit of time as we did watch Stevens and Terry come through, pulling out a little bit of a lead in a battle. Oh, and Grunhill's gone very wide there, very wide coming up the hill. Hasn't slowed him down very much. He'll be pleased with that.
Away, yeah, he seemed to pull away a bit there from Richard Wilde coming out of turn 5 and 6. It seemed to be that he was under more pressure from Daniel Hunt than he was going to give Grunwald, but that's about the top 4. Further down the field, to see what's going on here. I'm just going to see what's going on midfield. There's quite some good battling going here. And I've got Stephen Ridley going side by side with one of the Welsh Motorsport cars. That's number 71 with Mick McCarran. And I think Mick McCarran may have been the one who started in the pit lane. One of the Welsh cars opted to start from the pit lane. And we said before about Simon Field, who's had the problem in the first race. Simon Field up to 14th place already. So Simon Field in the points. They'll be trying to get the points over his rivals, because Adam Terry and Ellis Stevens very high up, as we know, in the in fact they are the top 2 in the top 2 in this race. So Simon Field wants to not try to damage limitation really as far as the points are concerned. And Ignazio Pinella having another torrid time at the moment. He's down in 23rd.
Yeah, he's in the 20s. That's not a good performance from him. I wonder what's happened to him. We didn't see it on the camera, but you're right about Nick McCarran. I think he did start in the pits. Maybe he was a bit late getting onto the grid, and he has Stephen Ridley, who is a new entry into this championship, doing very well in the Airways racing car right up in front of him. Remember, McCarran has been a much faster driver in these last few races. We saw him run wide out of the last corner on the last lap, and we're halfway through this race already, Dan. It seems like it's over in the blink of an eye. Just 10 laps around here.
Yeah, it seems very close, but Richard Wilde will be hoping it's a bit longer, because the more he's stuck behind Dave Grunwald, I think the more desperate he's going to be to get past, because David Grunwald defending very, very well against our race 1 winner, Richard Wilde. They spring now through the rainy curve and up to the turn 11, and that means they've got one more corner to go, and Richard Wilde goes a bit more wide than Grunwald, takes some dirt there as well, and that will harm him. He might be able to have a little look down the inside, but going on the dirt, he lost that little bit of time, but if Grunwald and Wild work together, they may be able to try and get on the back here of the Stevens and Terry battle, because them two are quite close together, and maybe we could see the Grunwald and Wild trying to get to the back of the leaders.
But what's going through your mind there, Dan, as you get a slowdown penalty in a race like this? You've taken the last race quite convincingly as well, and now all of a sudden you're in 4th place. Are you thinking about working together with the guy ahead, or are you just thinking about getting round in the soonest time possible?
It depends what you're looking for, really. If you're looking at the long run, Richard Wild not in the championship, as if he's not in the top 10 though. At least he wasn't at the start of the race meeting. So his philosophy will probably be different to that of someone like Granol or Stevens or Terry, who are further up and got the championship. To think about Wild trying to get around the outside there, going out of turn 5, and I think Wild is like a bull in a china shop. He's going to try and get through. He's not got nothing to lose really, but compared to the 3 in front of him, Granol's gone wide there, and this could give Wild the opportunity he wants down into the corkscrew. This will be very ballsy if he makes it stick down the inside of the corkscrew, but it's been blocked off there by Dave Granol, and quite fairly at that.
Yeah, and we saw on the previous lap, or maybe the lap before that, as all the cars filed through the corkscrew on our screens, we saw Grunhill go wide in the same position and didn't really give up all that much time though, did he?
No, he didn't lose very much time, and also he didn't lose the position, which is the main thing. But I also think that Grunwald is maybe starting to catch up a bit to the back of Adam Terry. It'd be interesting to see the lap times when they come across the line now. Adam Terry is coming across, and his lap times are 1:31.0, but Dave Grunwald are 1:30.9, ever so slightly catching up, but he seems to be a little bit quicker than Adam Terry. But Richard Wild is not going to let him go to try and get him, and Richard Wild, he's got very, very close. Nearly bump drafted him there going through the corner as such. Then he gave him a little love tap, but they all come through unscathed at the moment. But and in fact, Grunwald's gone very sideways there from Dave Grunwald, but Richard Wild wasn't able to take advantage.
I think that was actually of Richard Wild's doing. In fact, got into the back of Grunhill just going into that corner, and would have had to give the position back had he taken it anyway. So just kind of decided to stay behind him. But if we have a look at the driver interval just there between Terry and Grunhill, it was 1.2 coming onto the lap, and that's cost Grunhill half a second. He's now down to 1.7. With 3 laps to go, or 3 laps to go after this one. It's going to be a tall order for Grunhill to get back in this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be a very tough order for Richard Wild as well, but rounding up top 5, we've got Sean Lay as well, and the Alison Lee machine, very quietly. He's got himself in the top 5 position, and we've got Daniel Hunt in 6th, Stephen Hefford 7th, and Peter Van Gool, the man we interviewed before, is in 8th place, but he's under a lot of pressure from John Richardson. He's got Chris Shaw, and also Simon Field is there as well. This is Simon Field. Yeah, Simon Field slowed down. If he's got another one of them slow down penalties, I'm very unfortunate there for Simon Field. He's going to lose a couple of positions there. I saw one of the eBay cars going past him and another car as well. So Simon Field is really his own enemy this evening as far as we've seen so far.
So Field down to 13th position now, having battled all the way back up to just outside the top 10 in fact. Adrian Gibson is just ahead of Field as we look at Peter Van Gool leading this small train of cars now into the first corner. Van Gool looked very good in the first race. He was in 10th position. He's now up to 7th, which was very impressive, and he did fulfill his promise almost to get a higher position in the second race.
Also coming in the pit lane is his teammate Stephen Hefford, so we don't know what's happened there, but Stephen Hefford is coming down the pit lane. He was running in the top 10 at the time.
Possibly a stop-go for Stephen Hefford then if he's just come in the pits. He didn't stop for any maintenance or anything like that, so...
Adam Terry's gone off! Sorry to interrupt you, Chris, but Adam Terry has gone off on the dirt, and now he's lost a lot of momentum, and Dave Grunwald has not been able to get past, but an error there from Adam Terry. We saw one in the first race, and Terry was very well to hold on to that. I thought at one stage he might lose it and go clousing into those barriers, but he managed to keep hold of it. But Adam Terry down into this, well, he's still in second place, but now instead of being closer to Ellis Stevens, I think Dave Grunwald may fancy his chances for the next lap or so.
And I was very well held as we just watched a replay of that from Adam Terry. Very well held. The car just looked to get a little bit loose as he put the rear wheels onto the dirt, which is what we saw Grunwald do to quite a lot of success on a good few laps. But he was able to keep it in check just about. He has given up that time to Stevens, so Stevens now with a 1.7 second gap in the lead with only 2 laps to go. Barring any major mishaps, that's Stevens' race, you feel now. Meanwhile, Hefford, who we were talking about. Sorry, go on, Dan. Sounds like something else is going on the track.
Yeah, I was going to say Richard Wild, his pursuit of Dave Grunnell really has got a bit further there. They were side by side going into turn number 4, but just about managed to, well, Grunnell in fact just managed to keep on to the position, but Richard Wild's been right on the back of Dave Grunnell for the last couple of laps, and Grunnell has defended very well because he's been put under intense pressure. But now I say that, yes, I say that, he's gone wide, and that could be just what Richard Wild needs, and Richard Wild goes through. So I'm very sorry, Dave, but that is the curse of the commentator at its finest.
And we saw Grunhill do this on a few laps in the past. He's just taken too much this time round. He was taking more and more each time. It came back to bite him, and he has had to cede that position to Richard Wild, who will be delighted to be up in third after having such a good result last time. With just one more lap to go as the drivers now come on to their final lap. We've got a back marker up in front of Ellis Stevens, who is currently leading this race. So over the line, onto the final lap then. Stevens leads the race from Adam Terry, Richard Wild in third, Dave Grunhill is fourth, Daniel Hunt doing very well in fifth, then it's Lay, Van Gool, Richardson, Shaw and the other Richardson rounds out the top 10. So it looks like, Dan...
And that back marker we're talking about... Sorry, as I say, that the back marker that we spoke to is Simon Topham, who we spoke to after the race. So Simon Topham about to go a lap down, but as you said, I think Ellis Stevens, he's got quite a good chance in this race if he can keep it going the way he is. But he's got to be very keen to get past Topham because Adam Terry will be closing ever closer as this race goes on. And at the moment, Topham hasn't seemed to let Stevens pass, and we're coming up to the corkscrew now. He's going to pull over to the left, but Ellis Stevens will be trying to get Simon Topham out of his way. He's been behind in the majority of the lap, and this must be extremely frustrating because he's braking even sooner than he wants to, and that's allowed Adam Terry to get even closer. I don't think it's quite going to get close enough, but Topham finally moves over, but that could have been rather interesting now if you've not got to let him go, because Adam Terry has come straight through, so Terry is going to have a much faster lap on this, the last lap, but Ellis Stevens I think will take race 2 here at Laguna Seca.
I think so, and yeah, last corner he's coming into there, but it's got to be difficult for these drivers, especially on that part of the track where you've got that turn 6 and very fast corner coming up to the corkscrew. Not an ideal place to overtake. Should Topham have got out of the way there, or do you think he was within his rights to wait, make Ellis wait till after the corkscrew?
On Topham, he probably would have had the blue flags as they came out of turn 1 and 2. There wasn't much in it. If he wanted to get out of his way, he probably could have done it on that straight between 4 and 5, really, because he knew the leaders were probably approaching him. Well, maybe I'll see them in his mirrors, but he's running his own race as such. He could have, he very, very nearly could have caused a problem because we saw the gap go down to 0.6 of a second at the end. So Adam Terry, on that last lap alone, how much time did Adam Terry take out of him? Because it was, Adam Terry did a 1:30.4 and then Stevens a 1:31.3. So Stevens was definitely hindered by the car there as Simon Topham, but it's a hard one really because Topham he wasn't really racing anybody though, so he just probably didn't want to go a lap down, but I don't know really. I think that could have been a bit dodgy. If it cost a position, I think Ellis Stevens would have been extremely aggrieved.
Indeed, and Ellis Stevens taking the win in spite of that last lap minor drama. Adam Terry second, the last podium position taken by Richard Wild, our winner from the first race. Dave Grunhill comes home in fourth after a more than shaky performance, but held it in the end. Daniel Hunt in the Top Speedworks car, fifth. Lay 6th, Van Gool 7th, an improvement over his 10th in the last race. John Richardson, the younger Richardson in an Airways racing car, is 8th. Chris Shaw 9th, impressive performance from Chris Shaw, and 10th is Steve Richardson. So coming down the field a little bit further, Simon Field managed to battle up to 11th, which is, you've got to say, Dan, is pretty impressive given that he started, where was it, 21st?
Very impressive, and also he had that slowdown penalty as well, so despite a bit more adversity in this race, Simon Field will get some points, so that's something to be quite happy with. But with this reverse grid, is it a top 10 to get reversed, Chris?
It is the top 10, which means that Simon Field just about misses out on their reversal, so he'll be starting in 11th. So it could be a bit of a downer for him. Gibson, a new entry in the Speedworks car, comes home in 12th. McCarran 13th. Smith in the points in 14th, and the final point taken by Peter Foster, who is now who came home in 15th place. Bird 16th after a last lap or a penultimate lap incident. Stephen Hefford 17th, Hind 18th. Tristan Bottas, who we didn't hear much from in the first race, was 19th, and Simon Topham was 20th. So in fact, the last car on the lead lap there, Dan, was 19th place.
Yeah, a very interesting way to finish the race there. But looking forward to this third race, we've got Steve Richardson who'll be starting on the pole with Chris Scholl with them on the front row. Then you've got John Richardson and Peter Van Goor on row 2. Row 3 you'll see Sean Lay and Daniel Hunt. The fourth row will be David Grunnell and Richard Wild. Then on that fifth row you've got Adam Terry and Ellis Stevens. But Adam Terry and Ellis Stevens will have Simon Field behind them. So that's 3 cars who are main top runners, 3 of our faster drivers. Well, 5 of them really. When you count Grunnell, Wild, Terry, Stevens and Field, that could be quite interesting going down to turn 1 between these feisty, fast drivers.
Indeed, and we always say with the touring cars, with the third race, anything can happen with those top 10, so it will be very, very keen to see what happens there. Round 12 here on BSR TV is coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes time, and if you're watching live, we are going to cut the stream off, so you'll need to retune. If you're watching on YouTube later on, you just have to watch the next video. So from me and Dan Blake, hope you can join us in a few minutes.